Coming up, the front lines of the war in Ukraine are now flooded after a critical dam is destroyed. And 3 more GOP presidential hopefuls are expected to launch bids for the White House this week. The rundown starts now. This is Straight Arrow News, bringing you unbiased, straight facts. Thanks for joining us. I'm Kara Rucker. 16 months into the war in Ukraine, and many are calling this a critical moment. A major dam that separates Russian and Ukrainian forces has burst, sending floodwaters into the war zone and forcing evacuations, just as Ukraine began a long-awaited counteroffensive against Russia. The dam that has been breached is critical to the area, supplying water to Crimea and Europe's largest nuclear plant. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky says Russian forces set off a blast from inside the dam, detonating the structure, while Russia says Ukrainian military strikes caused the dam to break as a distraction from Ukraine's counteroffensive failures. The destruction of the dam creates a new humanitarian disaster in the center of the war zone, with both sides expected to feel the fallout. Russia has been in control of the dam since early on in the war, and both Russia and Ukraine have long accused the other of plans to destroy the dam.
I can already say that the destruction of Nova Kakhovka Dam brings the targeting of civilian infrastructure and civilians in Ukraine to unprecedented new level. And of course, the European Union condemns strongly this horrific and barbaric attack against such a crucial piece of the infrastructure.
The Republican presidential field is expected to grow this week, with at least 3 more candidates expected to announce their bid for 2024. Tonight, former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie is expected to launch his campaign at a rally in New Hampshire. Tomorrow, former Vice President Mike Pence is set to kick off his presidential bid in Iowa after officially filing paperwork on Monday. North Dakota's Governor Doug Burgum is also expected to make an announcement on Wednesday. This will expand the field of GOP hopefuls into the double digits. Attorneys for former President Donald Trump met with special counsel Jack Smith and Justice Department officials on Monday. Lawyers argued that no charges should be brought against Trump in the case involving classified documents, questioning the integrity of the grand juries investigating the former president. Several outlets are reporting a decision on whether to bring charges is imminent. New this morning, Atlanta's City Council approved the funding for a proposed police and firefighter training center, more commonly known as Cop City. Approval came following hours of testimony, with hundreds gathering around City Hall to protest the center. The training center was initially approved all the way back in September of 2021, but needed an additional vote to approve funding for the $90 million price tag. City officials say the center will replace inadequate training facilities and help address difficulties in hiring and retaining police officers. Opponents of the center, who started the Stop Cop City movement, decried the center as a gross misuse of public funds, saying it would lead to greater militarization of the police. The movement has garnered national attention, especially in the wake of January's deadly police shooting of activist Manuel Tehran, who was shot 57 times, according to an autopsy report, after an altercation with police near the proposed training center site. Another plane of migrants has arrived in Sacramento, California, the second to land in California's capital in the span of 4 days. California's Governor Gavin Newsom says Florida is responsible for the transport of migrants from the southern border to Sacramento and is now threatening Governor Ron DeSantis with kidnapping charges. Newsom took to Twitter in their latest war of words, calling DeSantis a small, pathetic man and attaching a link to California legislation on kidnapping. DeSantis hasn't commented on these latest migrant flights, and Florida hasn't claimed to have orchestrated the transportation, although the migrants arrived with paperwork suggesting their involvement, according to California officials. There were about 20 migrants on Monday's flight and 16 on Friday's. All of them first arrived in Texas and were sent to a church in Sacramento. The migrants were all adults and given food, water, and supplies.
Help them to get their bearings, and then also, help them to, whatever the immigration process that's been set up for them at the border, that they can be followed through and they can get hopefully some prompt resolution to their case.
Iran has released images of what they claim is the country's first domestically made hypersonic ballistic missile. Iran state TV says it can bypass the most advanced anti-ballistic missile systems of the United States. The announcement is likely to renew concerns about Iran's nuclear capabilities at a time of growing tensions between Tehran and Washington. The announcement of Iran reaching hypersonic capabilities comes less than 2 weeks since Iran test launched a ballistic missile, which the U.S. State Department called a serious threat. Major film and television studios already grappling with a month-long writer's strike could soon see their actors also walk off the set. Hollywood's Actors Union has voted to authorize a strike if contract negotiations break down. Contract talks begin tomorrow, with the current contract set to expire at the end of the month. It's Hollywood's biggest actors union, involving 160,000 members. This comes as TV and film writers are now entering the 6th week of their strike. It's disrupted production of late-night shows and is delaying high-profile show releases, such as a new season of Netflix's Stranger Things.
The whole industry has to protect itself from AI, and so if a strike is necessary, then yes. And so lots of parts of our world are going to be threatened by AI, so we need to get ahead of it, I think, and make some sensible decisions and regulate things.
These are your top stories. Thanks for joining us for the rundown. We're on a mission to bring back trustworthy journalism by serving only you, not an agenda. Be sure to check out more of our work at straightarrownews.com. And you can also find the latest rundown episodes available as a podcast on all major podcast platforms. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Until then, I'm Kara Rucker. Have a great day.